Sometimes life will throw you a situation that will be like a clear heads up. Yeah, this is why we're doing this shit. And I'd like to talk about why I'm doing the podcast, why I research. Like for about the past year, I've been studying like trust law, and then I got into trying to understand the Constitution and these statutes slash rules, laws that we're supposed to follow. Well, it, first of all, let me say, was mind blowing. It's fucking mind blowing once you start wrapping your head around it. This whole system that we run under. And I would say it's a very genius system, and we're not as much is out of, like, we have a lot more say so and control. We just didn't know it. We wasn't taught. We wasn't taught the difference between public and private like our old timers were. We wasn't taught contract. Everybody's always screaming out for the constitutional rights, and they don't even understand that those constitutions were written to keep the law in line. Our rights come from the big man, whoever, and here, up there, wherever you think it is, or whoever you think it is, your God gave you your rights. And that would explain why so many people today that don't have any kind of higher power or spirituality, why they're the way they are, why they're robots. They're fucking robots, guys. If you follow a rule blindly, you're a robot following a program. Okay? But if you can stop and say, hey, wait a minute, this don't make no sense. Maybe we shouldn't fucking put the Jews in the carts. Maybe we shouldn't shoot our neighbors in the head because the government told us to. Don't you see when you're following rules blindly that's yeah, that rule might need to be there, but like sometimes you gotta speed. Sometimes you gotta get the fuck out of the way. Sometimes you got to, be a person. So anyways, while I'm rambling and bitching, I'll tell you the story. I go to pick my daughter up. She has an appointment. And the lady says, we're going to need to see your ID. Well, I don't carry an ID, not a state ID in that sense, not a driver's license and stuff. I get a funny look, but I've looked into it enough. I carry a birth certificate, and it's a live birth certificate. It's official, and it's a universal ID. And from my understanding, the universal ID is universal, which means it's superior. And flexible, but not just flexible. All right, so I use that as my ID because that is my private ID. Anything else is like commercial. Your driver's license is commercial. Anyways, you want to learn that? Check into the podcast. We'll be talking about law, universal law, God's law, English law, U.S. law, whatever. We're going to be talking about it. Anyways, so I go up there. She says I can't have my daughter without ID. I had to go back home, get my birth certificate. I come back up there, and she said, well, you still can't have her because you're not on the list. And that's a frustrating feeling, to be told that you can't have your child, that I can't get my child out of there. And I mean, she's 16. I dropped her off. It's not like, I'm a stranger. I have her fucking name tattooed on me. You know what I'm saying? And I told the lady, I said, lady, I understand you got rules, but I mean, you choose to follow them. You don't have to follow them. You're choosing to follow them. And it's fine if you want to follow your rules. I'm not saying that you shouldn't even. But to me, I'm not really much of a standard structured person, but I'm reasonable. I think for myself. I decide what's right and wrong for myself. I don't just take so-and-so's fucking right and wrong, And people say, well, they care about the kids. That's why they're doing it, so people can't just come up and get your kids. Really? You think that's why they're doing that? Let me ask you a question. Do you really think that's why they're doing that, or are they doing that to cover their own ass? Because They didn't ask for an ID while we were filling the paperwork out. Because my daughter filled it out online, I think. They didn't ask for mother or daddy's permission to do that. You know what I'm saying? They didn't ask. Well, look, I'm not even going to get into that. The point is you and I both fucking know that the people that teach our kids, while maybe good people, the people, when I say people in the sense of the groups, the corporation, the schools, or from, the government schools, they have a certain side of things to teach. But that doesn't mean they have your best interest. To me, it seems like they want to teach you to be a robot, right? To follow strict rules. Get a shot. Wear a mask. If you don't, you're a piece of shit. First of all, we're going to have to understand that there's more than what our own personal ideas of things, more points of views. That might have been kind of confusing. Basically, it's complicated, I guess. For instance, slaves. There's been a lot of talk about slaves lately. And when I say slave, what do you think of? You think of a black man, probably in chains, shirtless maybe, or at least wearing raggedy clothes, scars. Is that what you think of? I've asked a few people, and that's the mental image they get when I say slave. Chains, black people, slaves. All right, now, that's been pushed a lot lately. And people would say, well, that's because we need to get justice. We need to show history so we don't repeat it again. And that's cool, because I think we should talk about history, and I think bad things have happened. But I don't think that's why they're teaching it. I think they teach you that so you don't understand that there's other types of slaves. Like, I think that you could probably say that there's been slaves that didn't have chains. That there's been slaves that maybe even went home every day, but they had to be back here at a certain time. I think that we probably are told one image, and this is the way it is, so we don't see that we're being kind of herded into a section. And I heard something not too long ago about the crowd, about following the crowd. It hasn't always turned out good in history to follow the crowd. They crowded Native Americans all to one part of the country. It didn't work out for them. They crowded the Jews into, and you can follow the crowd if you want to, the herd. But I think I'm gonna stick back on the side and watch what's happening. And the truth is relative. My truth ain't always going to be your truth. But until we give each other a chance and start trying to see others' perspectives, well, then all we're going to do is make assumptions about each other. And that's what the purpose of the media really is to divide and conquer at this point. It's not to tell you the news, it's to tell you one side of the news. At some point, everyone has a voice or like a feeling inside that tells you right from wrong. Everybody has it. You have it. And if there's any truth, or you feel like, hey, this motherfucker might be crazy, but he could be on to something, then maybe you're one of us. Maybe you should tune in.